Good morning. Welcome to regular council meeting for the Corporation of Township of Minden Hills for Thursday, 11. Review of today's agenda, there's a delegation. Aqua. Madam Clerk, please proceed with a roll call.
Counselor Sisson,
Present.
Counselor St. Eve sends regrets with notice. Counselor McKelvey,
Present.
Counselor Duvanson,
Present.
Counselor Ingram,
Present.
Deputy Marshall,
Present.
and Mayor Curran.
Present. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Minden Hills is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge the shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. I call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Johansson, seconded by Counselor Ingram. Be it resolved that the June 11th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All those in favor? That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, move on to delegations. Our first delegation, Natalie Baker and Jeremy Manning from Aqua. Please join us and start whenever you're ready. So we might turn down a little bit to the lady.
Good morning, Your Worship, our council, and township staff. My name is Natalie Baker, Business Development Manager with the Ontario Clean Water Agency. Today, obviously, we have Jeremy Manning here as well, your Senior Operations Manager for your facilities. So our presentation today is focused around our contract renewal. And it is really hard to believe that it has been 5 years already. When a contract nears an expiry date, Aqua drafts and submits a renewal proposal to send to our clients, and that goes to staff. I believe it went late last year to review, and then we get the opportunity to come to council. So today, I've summarized all the information in that renewal proposal that highlights our experience profile, our partnership with Minden Hills, and highlights our operational programs. And we're going to go through some of that today. So we can move on to the next slide. Well, as you can see here, I may have got carried away using AI to create visuals for presentations. I had a little bit of fun. I just got it installed on my computer, and I'm not sure Jeremy comes that excited to work every day, but most days. But I was just looking for a good representation to highlight 21 years of partnership. Jeremy has been managing the facilities for 17 of those 21 years, and I've been involved in 13. So, we have had a few ups and downs and maybe unexpected turns along the way. Mother Nature has not been overly kind to us with 3 major flooding events, one in which we had to bring on our emergency response teams, but the other 2 were very close behind. We also had some major ice storms, so we're hoping that she'll be kinder moving forward. We've worked through global financial crisis, a global pandemic, as well as inflation and supply chain pressures. We have had 5 municipal elections, which brings evolving priorities and directions along the way. And through it all, I believe we've continued to work together, collaborating, adapting, and problem solving as a team. So we'll get into a little bit more about Aqua and away from the AI visual for the next slide. So we currently service more than 75% of the existing outsourced market in Ontario, and our clients are made up of municipalities such as yourselves, First Nation, industry, and institution. We have approximately 1,100 employees providing full range of technical and advisory services. Out of those 1,100, almost 800 of those are certified operators across the province. So we operate for 142 neighboring municipalities, just like the Township of Minden Hills, with the mandate to protect human health and the environment. So the scale and scope of our operations is quite expansive. We operate one of the largest membrane filtration plants in North America, the world's largest municipal biosolids incineration complex, and some of the smallest communal systems in remote Ontario, like the First Nation operation at Moose Factory on James Bay. So really a wide range of services that we're providing. Next slide, please. So Aqua is more than just an operations and maintenance with various corporate resources that include an engineering department, planning, construction management, training, as well as technical advisory services like process optimization, energy management, and asset management. Our goal is to really assist clients in managing their water and wastewater facilities at every stage of the asset life cycle, and to help ensure sustainability of the systems into the future. Next slide, please. So Aqua takes a shared services approach to operations, which allows us to find economies of scale and cost savings for our clients. This approach allows us to purchase bulk supplies and equipment province-wide, which produces savings at municipalities, usually Gwynedd City. So we use a hub and spoke model to deliver services where larger operations contracts anchor the hub and shared resources are deployed to some of those smaller contracts or the spokes, so to say. So this structure really helps facilitate the efficient sharing of management, administration, operational systems to benefit our clients. So the Township of Minden Hills is within our Kawartha Trent region, which services 12 municipalities, 2 First Nations, and 16 other commercial clients. So those could be condo boards or other commercial agencies. The Kawartha Trent region is represented here in green in the image, and the Georgian Highland region is also close by in orange there, which services another 25 clients, so 12 municipalities, and they would be, Township of Springwater, Essa, Tay, and Wasaga Beach are over in that area. Next slide, please. So under the current contract between Aqua and the Township, we operate and maintain the Lutterworth Pines drinking water system, the Minden drinking water system, and the Minden wastewater treatment facility. Currently, the Township, and then we also transitioned the distribution and collection systems just a few years back under a change order. So we're operating all of your systems to date, as well as your smaller 319 systems. So just some typical operations include daily rounds, review of trending and residuals, monitoring of flows, chemicals used, and water quality, sampling and lab testing, routine maintenance and major maintenance, and of course, compliance management and regulatory reporting. Our contract itself does have a fulsome list of inclusions. If you're ever looking for some nighttime reading, I'm sure that would be available to get a little bit more detail. Next slide. So Aqua strives for 100% compliance in one of the world's most complex regulatory frameworks, covering water, wastewater, health, and safety. And we use robust systems like quality environment management system and emergency protocols to meet all legal requirements. The facility is owned by the Township under Regulation 170 of the Safe Drinking Water Act are to receive annual inspections by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation, and Parks. And the primary focus of this inspection is to confirm compliance with ministry regulations, as well as evaluating conformance with the ministry drinking water policies and guidelines during that time. And this is really represented by that annual presentation that I come and do. Very heavy on the regulation side and probably not all that exciting, but very important in terms of where your systems sit for compliance. So over the last contract term, Aqua has managed 12 inspections by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. And on 11 of them, we got 100%, with one falling shortly below that, just over 95%. But Jeremy has stated that he's going to try really hard to make sure that doesn't happen again. It is a great compliance record. It really is. Moving on to the next slide. So Aqua uses integrated systems to enhance service delivery and compliance, and these include process data management, which is a centralized platform for field data, lab results, and instrumentation. And this is used for reporting and analysis, as well as our asset maintenance system known as a computerized maintenance management system, or CMMS. And Aqua's in-house system avoids third-party costs, supports budgeting, and identifies high maintenance assets for replacement, which the next 2 slides will expand on. Move forward. So the computerized maintenance management system just described has allowed your operations team to tag and keep an inventory of all equipment in each of the facilities. So each piece of tag equipment has a unique barcode and ID number. The system schedules monthly, quarterly, and annual inspections based on best practices for that piece of equipment, as well as owner manuals guidelines. So since the start of the current term, your operations team has completed 3,373 work orders. 2,049 were preventative maintenance actions for the equipment to prolong the life of each asset. 997 were corrective, 65 were capital, and 262 were operational. So an operational work order would mean during a round, an operator would notice that there was a deficiency with a piece of equipment and would enter in that work order on their own to have it corrected. So just constantly being vigilant of what's going on around them. Moving on. So every year, Aqua provides a 6-year rolling major maintenance and capital expenditure list. This list requires pre-approval, and we work with staff to prioritize projects to meet financial requirements while maintaining compliance. The document contains a list of requests for equipment replacement and repair, as well as an explanation as to why it is being replaced. For example, if the replacement relates to compliance or health and safety. This table in this slide is just a representation of the different reasons why a recommendation may be made. And then we also provide a level of priority for the request. So if it needs to be done immediately, if it can wait, 1 to 3 years, and if it could be pushed even further out. So it's just making sure that everyone is aware of the projects that are coming up. And once submitted, we wait for approval for the township budget and then work closely with township staff to proceed through those projects. So as a result, next slide, please. Since 2021, we've managed just over 1.6 million in capital projects on behalf of the township. These investments reflect Aqua and the township's commitment to maintaining and upgrading that infrastructure. And our cluster-based service delivery does help reduce capital costs by allowing municipalities to share specialized expertise, planning resources, and asset management support across multiple systems. And this helps avoiding duplication of capital planning and staffing resources on the township side. So we bring in the individuals we need for each project, but they are not being budgeted in the day-to-day operations to inflate that budget. Next slide. So as mentioned, Aqua has submitted a renewal proposal to the township, and this proposal highlights Aqua's operating philosophies and experience working with the township, as well as proposed revisions for the new operating term. The proposal includes the initial term of 5 years, and we believe 5 years extension will provide the township with a continuation of service, supporting system-wide improvements, provide stability for long-term programs, capital planning, and process changes, maintains consistent staffing, preserving site-specific knowledge and building team capacity. As mentioned, Jeremy's been there for 17 years. And enables extended tracking of asset maintenance, process performance, and compliance. So really an extension of all the programs I just went through from a computerized maintenance management system standpoint. Next slide, please. So when an operating agreement nears its expiry date, we conduct an extensive review to determine any potential increases to expenses over the length of the term. So during a fixed price contract term, we do not come forward with increases regardless of what's happening around us globally or increases to labor that we've seen. And we review that when a renewal proposal comes to play. Aqua is a cost recovery agency, so we are not a company that makes a profit, but we are required to recover our costs of operating. So the previous term began on June 1st, 2021, and we set the operating costs for the 5 years based on historicals, not properly able to predict some of the complications that the global pandemic of COVID would pose in terms of inflation. So our renewal proposal, we broke down the components of increases under labor, hydro, services and supplies, chemicals, and insurance. Services and supplies were directly impacted by COVID, seeing increased costs for equipment, supplies for preventative maintenance activities, fuel, and outside contractors. And I think this is something that we're seeing across the board, not just in water, wastewater, but across all type of expenses for operating. Chemicals alone was one of our biggest increases, and province-wide, we saw a 70% increase. Now, certain chemicals did see higher increases than others, so it did affect different municipalities based on the type of system they had and the type of chemicals they were using. I have seen some a lot higher than this, but across the province, we did see that. Aqua does purchase our chemicals province-wide under tenders, and our procurement team does a great job negotiating that. So we do get economies of scale, but we did still see large increases with movement from the US into Ontario. We have seen some increases to labor from both special wage adjustments as well as the OPSU wage reopener, where operators were back paid until 2022, an increase totaling 9.5% over the 3 years. It is important to note that Aqua is not looking to recover any costs backdating or prior to our new contract term. We're only looking to increase by that amount moving forward. So this in no way is helping us for the last few years recover those costs. Whatever they came in at under the fixed price agreement, they stay that way. Taking into consideration the increases, we've submitted an annual price of $665,779 to operate and maintain the facilities, and this will allow Aqua to recover costs. So an overall increase of about 30,000, just over 30,000. And I believe that was coming in at about just 4% increase. So we were happy we were able to keep it to that level. Now, before we move on to some of the corporate programs, I did want to briefly clarify how the Aqua service fee works and why it is applied. The fee applies to additional services, so work outside the day-to-day operations like capital or major maintenance projects. And these are more complex initiatives outside the day-to-day operations and require dedicated oversight and coordination. The service fee reflects Aqua taking on full accountability for delivering those projects and included, the managing scope, schedule, cost, quality, and compliance. Aqua handles legal and insurance exposure to those projects and ensures all regulatory and safety requirements are met when we are managing projects on behalf of the township. So behind the scenes, these projects rely heavily on Aqua's full corporate infrastructure. So that is our procurement teams, our legal teams, our finance teams, and health and safety. These major maintenance and capital projects also require additional staff time and senior oversight beyond what's allocated in the O&M contract. And the fee ensures that the work is properly resourced without impacting our day-to-day operating budget. So ultimately, the value is that the township gets a single accountable partner, reduced administrative burden on the township side, and strong risk management for managing those projects. So moving on to the next slide. So I did want to bring attention to a few other corporate programs available to Aqua clients, and I'm sure everyone's getting some bad feelings associated with the picture in this slide, dating back to the 2013 flood for the wastewater treatment facility. So I did want to talk a little bit about Aqua's emergency response teams, and they are Ontario's first responder for water and wastewater systems related to emergencies. We have 5 emergency response teams across the province to utilize for our clients' emergency situation. So the emergency response teams are well equipped with large trailers with spare parts and emergency generators. And they come with teams that are trained on an annual basis to respond to these types of emergencies. So we've assisted clients through many different emergency events, obviously major flooding, the 2003 province-wide blackout, the 2006 Central Ontario windstorm, and Aqua also played a critical role in the rehabilitation of the Walkerton water supply back in 2000. So as you can see, major flooding events, which are reflected in this photo here for Minden, where the wastewater treatment facility became an island. A boat was needed to come in from the north side of the facility. But I do believe it reflects great engineering with the outline of the little island that was put in place. And finally, we've had some ice storms as well. I know it was a first for some of our operators to carry in chainsaws when going to do their daily rounds to actually get to the facilities, but Jeremy's team responded wonderfully to be able to do that. We didn't require our emergency response team in this year's flooding event. We did have them on standby and the trailers were parked on site just in case we needed to bring them in, but Jeremy was able to get through the flooding event with his current complement. And next slide, please. So I just wanted to bring to attention, I know we've used these units in the Township of Minden Hills, but just the aqua water buggy for your events, if you're looking to avoid using throwaway plastic, this is certainly something that we can schedule to come to your events. I know we've used it for the July Canada Day events in the township. And the last one, I just wanted to highlight Aqua's One Water Education Program, which puts grade 7 operators in grade 7 and 8 classrooms and client communities to show the importance of clean and safe water. This program was born in 2014 out of a desire to strengthen and formalize our commitment to water literacy. We've had over 3,000 students go through the program to date. So operators come in, we have some experiments that they go through related to water and wastewater operations. They get a better understanding of the systems in their communities. We also try to teach them things that they shouldn't be flushing down the toilet by bringing in things we have found that come through the system and making sure that they're bringing that home to their families in terms of what should be going down the drain. I know we have done this in Minden in the past, and I believe it is scheduled in the next couple of years to go back. And that today concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them now.
Thank you very much, Council. We have some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity. I think I just want to clarify. Aqua has come today to give an overview of their service and contract renewal. Council will actually receive the contract for approval on the 25th. You'll get much more detail than what you had today. Really, the decision for today is the contract extension. Given that I think Mr. Drinkwalter will present his report. But that's really the decision of today is the 1-month contract extension in terms of the 5-year contract renewal. That will be a further discussion on the 25th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Questions? Councillor McKelvey.
First of all, I wouldn't even be on this council if it wasn't for Aqua looking after our water tour, because there's personal liability. So I'm glad we have you here. But I do have a couple questions. You talked about the additional services, more complex. I believe we were paying 15% for those sorts of things. Is that changing in the, and you're going to tell me I can't ask, maybe you're going to tell me I can't ask.
No, I'm not telling you that you
Okay,
can't ask.
that's
I'm just saying you will get much more
Okay,
detail on
I'm
it.
curious what that fee is going to be.
Yeah, through your worship, the fee has remained the same.
Okay.
So from a corporate perspective, there's been quite a bit of analysis done on what our cost recovery number is. And it has been 15% consistently in terms of covering all of these resources that are required to initiate and complete that work. I do know that when projects get larger in nature, we do bring in our engineering services, and if they're more heavily involved, then sometimes that fee will drop. And we'll have discussions with staff about what an appropriate fee is. So there is wording in the agreement that speaks to a negotiated amount if it's outside regular scope or a larger project.
Go ahead.
I had heard from another township where their Aqua agreement came up, and there was, there was fee increases, obviously, but there was also portions of what you cover being transferred back to the township, like hydro or certain, is there any of that in our contract renewal?
Through your worship, we stayed pretty true to the scope. There can be changes to an agreement when it comes for any municipality out of those 142. It's really dependent on what the township or the client is looking for. So all of our agreements are very much catered to the needs of that individual community. If they were looking to transfer, hydro back in, then, that's something that we would consider if it was requested of us. But for this contract, we haven't made any major changes.
And Councilor Ingram.
Just on that note, Natalie, do we pay 15% on hydro poles?
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very, very much. Do we have a resolution?
We do. Moved by Counselor Johansson, seconded by Counselor Ingram, that council receives a presentation from Aqua Clean Water Agency as information.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh. Very well, thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning. Through the chair, this report is just for a small 1-month extension of the Aqua contract for the month of June. It's at the same price we previously paid in the previous contract. We'll be bringing the full contract at the end of this month for approval by council at the next meeting.
Any questions?
Moved by Counselor Ingram, seconded by Counselor Johansson, that council receives report 2609 Finance Aqua 1-month contract extension for information, and that council authorizes a 1-month extension period with Aqua from June 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2026 to ensure continuity of essential service.
All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We move on to adoption of minutes from previous meeting. Minutes of May 28th regular council and May 28th public meeting minutes. Are there any comments or amendments? Seeing none, please read the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Sisson, seconded by Counselor McKelvey, be it resolved that council approves the meeting minutes as follows. May 28th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes and May 28th, 2026 public meeting minutes for application PLZBA 2026015B.
All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the mayor's report. Just a couple things to note. One, that council, we extend our condolences to Mary Ferry's family. And we had a county council yesterday. We did a fairly lengthy tribute to Murray. He is an institution in Halliburton County, and obviously had a large impact on what happened in Halliburton County and also in Minden. I think we had good relationships with him and with Dysart. So he is somebody who is going to be truly missed in this whole area. Noted yesterday that I was especially disappointed in the fact that, you know, as we go into this study of looking at the finances and the governance, the county and the 4 municipalities, that I very much would have liked to have heard his opinion on what was going to come out of that study. But he will be long remembered, and again, condolences to his family. The other thing that you might note is that our flags in Minden are at half-staff, and that is to honor Taryn Bailey, who was the OPP officer who lost his life over the last couple of days in First. Our first responders, particularly in the rural areas, a huge difference in our ability to and our quality of life in these areas. So we truly appreciate the work that they do, and also sacrifices that they make in order to keep us safe. The other totally different view of things. It's summer, and all of a sudden things have become very busy in the town, on the roads, in the lakes, as everybody is back. So enjoy. I think in today's paper or yesterday's paper, there was a story about how dry things are in the forest and the danger of wildfires. So please respect the environment that we are in and enjoy your summer. All right, moving on, correspondence and communication. I don't believe there was anything pulled for discussion. So could we please read the resolution?
Moved by Counselor Sissel, seconded by Counselor McKelvey, that council receives correspondence and communication items 11.1 to 11.6 as information.
All those in favor? That is carried. All right. Moving on to Mr. Timmons, I believe. Director of Public Works, please join us and talk about the numerous projects that you're involved in.
Thank you, Mayor Carter, and good morning, council. So first report will be the pedestrian crossover, a bit of a review of the project and just an update on where we currently stand. So just some background. There's been a trend here at the township for this term of council where we've been trying to make an effort to slow down traffic, create some better access for pedestrians, safer crossings. And this is for our pedestrians, our local businesses, our elderly folk, our people with disabilities and issues with mobility, as well as our school kids that are making their way to school. So with this recurring theme, we have through direction from this council, we have installed additional, we're up to 5 digital speed signs now that not only collect data, but give you a nice visual of your speed and whether we're happy with you or not so happy with you. We've increased our community safety zones to include Water Street and most of Bob Cajun Road. And then the newest one is the project for this year, which was the addition of the new crosswalk on Bob Cajun Road. We have made some changes to the design after hearing some of the concerns and the feedback that came out of the last council, and then we did do a public call for comments. A lot of it, certainly, a lot of the concerns seem to be with parking. So we have addressed that to a certain extent. We have reduced it down to the original 4 that was what our target was. So we're down to the 4 parking spaces. We've done that by reducing the curb bump out. There were some comments received that the curb bump out itself is not necessary, but it is a critical safety feature in this crosswalk. It allows pedestrians to safely step out into effectively what would be the roadway to look around the cars before they're in the actual roadway. So it is a critical piece. So we're not comfortable removing it completely. We have pinched it down a little bit, makes a bit of a sharper corner, a little bit more skill for our snow removal folks, but nothing that they won't be able to handle. So those are the main changes to what we've done here. I did want to address some of the comments that came in, certainly through email, but social media as well. There was some major misconceptions about what this project was, and that really fed a lot of the comments we had, especially on the negative side. I think the term pedestrian crossover, which is the official term in the Highway Traffic Act, so that's why I've been using it. But this is a crosswalk. It's at ground level. There are no stairs. We're not trying to compete with Webers or anything, going up and over. It's ground level. It's meant to increase mobility and accessibility for, like I mentioned, those people that maybe have those mobility concerns. Properly lit up, centralized away from those corners. Those are that's the main reasoning. And that was a major one that just took off on social media. And that's a big one. And I've had not only social media, but I've had personal conversations with people who are seriously concerned about the stairs. So just here publicly, there are no stairs. It will be at grade, made to make life easier for crossing the road. Another one that a big one was that we included in the budget process this project with the sidewalk improvements, which we have labeled for about $500,000. This project was estimated at about, for the crosswalk specifically, was estimated at $130,000. So I just want to be clear, it's not a $500,000 crosswalk. This is on par with what we expect. Obviously, once we get this to tender, we'll have a better idea, but that is the cost, the estimated cost. So those are the major ones that that have come to light that really burn like wildfire. And I just wanted to clarify that is not the case. And we are not, beyond that, a lot of it was comments about reallocating funds to other projects, which is really not the conversation. So those are the main issues, and I just wanted to bring this to council's attention. It's just a report for information. Otherwise, I'm happy to take questions and discuss.
Questions? Councillor Ingram.
Thanks for the report, Mike, and clarifying some things there. I'm personally at a position where if it isn't broke, don't fix it. There's nothing wrong with the ones we've had. Nobody's got hit by a car that I know of. It doesn't make sense. Why don't we improve what we have? To me. And also, Mike, does the price include the Legion's part of the paving in that?
Through the chair, we will work with the Legion.
And is that where you have proposed now? Is that where it would go? Cheap at the center of the street, pretty much? Is that?
Yeah, sorry, yes, the location, sorry, on the drawing. Yeah, so
That would be
that's the rough location. Well, it's not the rough location. If you look, if you look on that drawing, these squares that are sort of just outside, especially on the north side, so the top side of your sheet, those are catch basins.
Yep.
So we're kind of restricted based on the catch basins and the poles. So yes, this is the location that's.
But is that where the Legion would be there?
Yeah, and
Is that
yes,
the idea?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so we would, instead of the classic zebra, we would have the Legion's memorial crosswalk in that location.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, and I guess just to Councillor Ingram's question or comment. I guess for me, this is one of the areas that I've heard the most about in my time here is safe crossing in our core area. I guess the consideration of whether council wanted to approve this project or not really happened back at budget time when we presented our information. Staff has put a lot of work, our engineers have put a lot of work into council's direction to install a crosswalk. So I just want to put that on the table for council.
Councillor McKelvin.
I'm a little concerned about, well, I'm a lot concerned about losing parking. I mean, our downtown needs everything we can possibly do to help it. But my other concern is that in order to limit it to 4, you're actually making the parking stalls shorter in some cases. And I'm surprised that our engineer didn't check our zoning, because our zoning bylaw mandates that parking spots be no less than 6 meters. So we're proposing to make some of these parking spaces shorter, which will contravene our zoning bylaw. And I mean, let's face it, other than my deputy mayor sitting beside me, who won't have any trouble parking her Fiat. For those of us that have large trucks, and that's the bulk of what happens in this county. I'm concerned that we really are going to lose more parking, because you can show it on here, but if people are across the line. And then I have one other concern that wasn't me, it was somebody else brought it to my attention that if we have lights at this, we're going to stop the traffic. For how long? Can that be timed? Because you're gonna end up with a traffic jam almost on busy days, which I hope we have far more busy days in town. But how long does that stop for? And how, somebody can cross and then all of a sudden somebody else is gonna push the button and then it's another 1 minute or 2 minutes or whatever it is, and we're gonna have traffic backed up here. So I recognize the courtesy crossings that we have are not ideal. They're at really bad intersections. I personally would have preferred to have a courtesy crossing in there.
Okay, through the chair, I will let, we do have Brad Parsons from Engage here, so he can maybe speak to the sizing to the parking spaces. Some have been made a little bit bigger, a couple of them have been shortened. The zoning bylaw aspect, we'll certainly look into that, but I'll throw it over to him in a minute. But just for additional parking, there is availability on Water Street. I know a lot of people park there, sort of their unofficial parking spots, but there could be an opportunity there to expand, make proper parking, signed parking, which would, I believe, help residents understand that there is additional parking. And that there are opportunities there, should the township want to consider them along Water Street where currently there is no parking, where it's effectively grass burned. We could generate a parking lane there as well, which would expand quite a bit of parking. I have looked at that with some of our, with the CSD director as part of a, goes hand in hand with the river walk there. If anything were to be adjusted there, we could kind of lump that into a similar project. So there are options for additional parking. I will throw it over to Mr. Parsons if he has a comment on the specific sizing of the lots and how that sort of came to that conclusion.
Thank you, Mike, and through your worship. So we looked at all the parking spaces. We were trying to maximize the parking in the downtown core as much as possible. So we did maintain the 6 meters on all parking spaces that are between another parking space and the curb. However, there's 3 end parking spaces on the second drawing in your package. Parking spot 14, 26, 21, 4, and 13. Those are all end parking spaces. So cars would have an opportunity to pull out or back in from one direction, so they have a bit more room. So that's more in line with the Ontario Traffic Manual, where you do have an end parking space. That kind of minimum general length of 6 meters can be reduced in those to 5.5, just because they have some additional wiggle room to get in and out on the one end of the spot. So yeah, that's kind of why we proposed that, just because we were kind of pinched for space, trying to maximize as much parking and maintain the crossing location.
Thank you. We definitely need to have something that shows where people can cross safely. I get that. But our main street is already just so short, and to lose those 4 parking spaces, it is going to affect business. I know it's impossible not to. And to spend $130,000 on something, I don't think people are going to use it. I think if you're parked down here and you have mobility issues, you're probably not going to go down to the crosswalk to cross. I mean, and again, that's just me guessing, but I'm not sure where I fall on this one. I know I understand the need for it. I love the idea of the Legion having the paint on the ground, but I'm honestly not sure how much it will actually be used in the way that is intended.
Councillor Sisson.
I'd just like to point out that Lakefield, the town of Lakefield had a beautiful picture of their crosswalk on Facebook this past week. There was a Legion one, and there was just basically what we have now over there. So we'll work in that spot and just freshen it up. And I'd also like to mention that village of Halliburton, a highway running through it, and they don't have nothing like this in Halliburton. They have a crosswalk that just a sign up says crosswalk. So I'm pretty sure if we had a Legion each way with the ones we have now, it would work just fine. Thank you.
Councillor McKelvey.
And I get, our CAO's point where we had this in the budget, but we didn't really talk about it. It was in as a group. Well, so I don't know any of us really, I don't recall the $130,000. I was hoping most of that 500 was gonna go to fix these appalling sidewalks, so I expressed my concern when you go to an official no longer courtesy, an official crosswalk, you're going to lose parking, and I didn't like it at the beginning and I still don't, so. However, I don't like the two courtesy crossings where they are, so my preference is one courtesy crossing at all the expense of these lights. And I realize staff have run with this and done a lot of work. Once it came to our attention, it was really, whoa. Here we are.
So,
See-
Mr. Mayor, I will go back in council packages. I do believe we've had specific conversation about the crosswalk. We had bundled the crosswalk with the sidewalks for budget purposes. You know, staff will take direction from council, but this is a reconsideration of your budget approval. This is, at budget time, we didn't run with this. You gave us direction and approved a project that had a crosswalk in it. So, I mean, it's up to council what you want to do.
I think that, our situation is that the two crosswalks that we have today are on bad corners. And I understand we haven't had, traffic fatalities, but,
Wait for
they
them.
still are not very safe. I see people all the time not realizing the car that's coming from behind them that is turning in that area. So the idea of the crosswalk, and then you're in a situation of, okay, where does it go? So the putting it in the middle is actually, I think, is beneficial to the businesses because everybody can be, moving back and forth quite easily. So I think that we, in the whole review of the downtown core, I think this could be a benefit. Now, the lights is, maybe those are considerations, and maybe they're not quite as needed because it's in the middle and you can see, but crossing that street sometimes is not altogether that easy. So, again, council will make the decision, but I think that, we're receiving it today for information, I believe. And then we'll have to figure out exactly how we proceed. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the receipt for information was intended because we have council direction
Okay.
to install a crosswalk. So if that council direction is changing, then we need to know that.
Okay.
Thank you. Sitting here and listening to you guys, it's a little disappointing to me, but as I kind of started talking about the crosswalk quite a while ago, as you know, I'm in town almost on a daily basis, and there has been very close calls. You hear the honking, you hear the swearing. People don't know how to travel over that bridge and continue. I'm asking for just better safety, and I don't know how we do this. But it's for everybody. I mean, there's children that are trying to cross and people aren't stopping for them and whatnot. So I just hope we can figure something else out.
Counselor. Sisson first. And then Commissioner.
I recall talking about this at budget time about if we got a grant. I recall that twice, I believe. If we got a grant for it, we could do it. For sure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that was the year before. And you are correct, Counselor Sisson. There have been a couple of other reports in front of council, one in March and one in June. But again, we can debate that. I think you've heard from our Director of Public Works that there is a portion of the project that is related to a crosswalk. There is a portion of the project that is related to sidewalk improvements.
Deputy Mayor Shell.
And just to clarify, I agree that we need something. I'm fully agree with you, Councillor Hannison, that we absolutely need to have a crosswalk. I actually think the middle is probably the best based on the other two locations are not safe. I'm just concerned that we're losing 4 parking spaces and I'm not sure how often it will be used, but I'm not sure where we go from here. I just absolutely need it. It can't go down to just being like a courtesy crosswalk with some kind of just maybe one being lost on each side, or, and you've probably looked into this and I'm asking questions I probably should have asked 6 months ago. But after hearing from the community, what we proposed in the beginning sounded great until, the community comes back and is asking questions and bringing up things you go, oh, I never really thought of that, but yeah, you're right. So just my thoughts.
Councilor McKelvey.
So we need to reinforce, there's 2 different things here. One is a courtesy cross, which is what we have 2 of now. Once you go to a full-blown legislative crosswalk, which is what we've been presented, it's a whole new ballgame. So we could consider going back to a courtesy crossing in the center. The unsafe corner at the bank, people come whipping around there and people are already in the middle of the courtesy crossing. The intersection with the bridge and Water Street, way too busy. And that's where the 2 courtesy crossings are now. And that's, I think, what makes them somewhat concerning, because there's just so much happening in one spot. But once you go to a full-blown crosswalk, you're into losing parking spots, you're into costs because it's lit. And I think you're going to be into traffic backups because of the timing of somebody pushing these buttons. I personally feel it should be a courtesy crossing in the middle. But I recognize, I went just back to our capital budget. I mean, all it says, repair damaged sidewalk, improve accessibility and install a crosswalk. Well, we didn't get a whole lot of conversation on this. So now that we saw it, it came out and we went, whoa. The last time we saw this was in March, and I think the community had valid concerns with the lack of parking already and then taking more.
Just one thing, the crosswalk in Oliver,
Is a courtesy crossing.
it has flashing lights.
No, it doesn't. Not on the main street. The one at Halbium has flashing. The one downtown is a courtesy crossing.
Sorry. Councilor Hannison? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. I just want to make one comment. I guess maybe it's 2 comments. I would have to look into the legalities of a new courtesy crosswalk. It is part of what brought us here, and I'll have to, I don't know if Mr. Parsons has a comment based on the traffic manual, but I have reached out in the past for a legal opinion on courtesy crosswalks. Currently, the 2 are grandfathered, leaving them in probably no real harm. I would have to confirm that we're not putting ourselves at risk by a courtesy crosswalk. Are they stopping? Are they not? Who has the right of way? It's not legal. That was the concern that brought us here. So I just want to put that out there, that the courtesy crosswalk has no obligation to stop, obviously, and now you create some confusion. So that is a potential thing that I would have to clarify. The other thing is, even if you put a courtesy crosswalk in the center, you're still going to lose at least 2 parking spots on either side. You're going to have the width of the crosswalk at min. So I just, we still would see some loss. I can certainly look into those things if that's council's direction, but I would say there are some things that would have to be.
Councilor Ingram.
it's been my experience that there's more danger in the home hardware parking lot or the food land. I've been almost hit more often there than I ever have on the street. I've worked here 32 years on the street at 6 o'clock every morning. I don't see the issue here. I really don't. I think this is just a waste of money. I really do. I think we should fix what we got. Who's gonna look after the people that are jaywalking because they don't want to use the sidewalk? You hire some bylaw? Protect them from themselves? Don't know.
We have a engineer is Sanda.
Through your worship, I just wanted to provide some insight on the Halliburton crossings. We're actually working with the municipality of Dysart on redoing some of the pedestrian facilities in Halliburton. We are installing a formal pedestrian crossing at the Hook, Line, and Sinker restaurant on Highland Street, but there is an existing courtesy crossing that is being maintained across from the grocery store. So just for your information, we are installing a new pedestrian crossing there.
So just to clarify, so you're, the one in downtown by the grocery store is changing from its, is that what you just said?
No, sorry, through your worship, that is being maintained. There was concerns without redoing the road there with the infrastructure, so they're just leaving the courtesy crossing for now. They might look at upgrading it in the future, but they are putting in a new pedestrian crossing about 400 meters down the road at the Hook, Line, and Sinker restaurant because there's parking on the other side of the road and it's an unsafe crossing currently. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I think that was half. Go ahead, Councilor McGilvey, with half your question.
Well, I just wondered if the engineer wants to comment on, you know, can we put in new courtesy crossings or are we bound by, it has to be the grandfathered ones that are already here or?
Through your worship, I'd also have to look at it with Mr. Timmons. We were doing a lot of these pedestrian crossings with various municipalities, Peterborough, Coburg, Halliburton. They are all more looking at the formal pedestrian crossings. We haven't been looking at installing a new courtesy crossing, so I'd have to go back, look at the traffic manual, and confer before getting back to you formally on that one.
Okay,
I have one more.
go ahead.
Can we go ahead and get the sidewalk tender out and get that work done? And because this is slowing it down and sidewalks are.
You know, it's two different things. When I mean,
Well,
How
it's all
long?
part of this project.
yes, I understand. But how long will it take you to look at the idea of the courtesy crosswalk?
I think, Mr. Mayor, to be fair, we need some time to go away and look at it. I think to Councillor McKelvey's question, though, looking into the crosswalk may take more time. And we really did bundle two projects together. So we may, I think if council gives us some leeway to look into whether coming back with information on what a courtesy crosswalk, even whether it's possible, what it might look like, versus getting on with some sidewalk repairs. If you leave that with us, we'll come back with a recommendation.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure we can do it for the next meeting of council, but we will do it as soon as we are able to.
So just, let's be very clear as to what you just said. So would you be going out to look at a sidewalk? A tender?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think if council will give us leeway, if we meet and determine it's better for us to get on with the sidewalk refurbishment, that we have leeway to go ahead and do that within budget and separate out the crosswalk from this, we'd appreciate that leeway.
Just through the chair, as just in terms of the planning of these projects, the two aspects have both been coming along. The sidewalk, we could get that one going. It's not like it's just been set aside. That, you know, originally this was planned, looking for a bit of the buying power with the contractor. It's similar work. We're hoping to lump it in and hopefully, you know, get some lower fees, mobilization, stuff like that. Clearly, this pedestrian crosswalk might take a little more thought and discussion. So as the CAO said, if there's, if council wants to give us some ability to separate those, we would certainly take that direction.
Is that generally agreeable to council?
Just a quick Google search shows that courtesy crosswalks for Ontario, minimum is 2.5 meters, with most going between 3 and 4.0, which would only be one parking space on each side.
Right. You have to amend the resolution. Or
Is that council's preference to amend the resolution to split out the sidewalk tender from the? That's what I've drafted, but again, this is council's motion. Is that the direction that council wishes to have in the motion?
sure.
Okay, so, Councilor Johansson, Councilor Ingram, I've just drafted, the wording that council directs staff to report on more information and to separate the sidewalk tender from the pedestrian crossover. Is council agreeable to that amendment to the motion? Yes?
Yeah, I think the only specific would be to provide more information on
On the
The pro-
crossover?
on the pedestrian crossover.
Okay.
The only thing, I'm not trying to slow this down, but if we don't do the official crossing, we'll have more money to put into the sidewalk job, and our sidewalks are terrible, so. That's my only concern, is if we could get an answer right now on this crossing, it would help put some more money of that 500 allocation inside.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's not possible for us to give you an answer right now on the crosswalk
Oh, I just meant council might give staff an answer. That's what I'm.
through. Thank you.
I think we should hear back what the options really are. Councilor Ingram.
Can we also get then, if we're getting that, or maybe we already know this, how much to enhance the ones we have? To improve sight line, to improve sight, all of that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think certainly we can do anything that we're directed to do. I think we've determined, though, they're not in the best spots. I don't know how we would improve sight line.
I think you could paint them, you could light them up a little bit more, whatever, but again, they've been there for 40 years, you know? I don't think it's the best spot to put it, is in the center of the street. That's my opinion. Been out on the street as much as anybody else in this room. It just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry.
And I don't want to give more for staff to do to look at, though adding those two options to the situation. I think it's, it'll just further delay us being able to get answers back.
They're already there, Bob. They're already there. It's enhancing them. You're not changing anything. You're just enhancing them. There's nothing to do except what can we do to enhance? That's all I want to know. Is there anything we can do to enhance those two crossovers or three crossovers, whatever they are? Right now, as opposed to spending $130,000 and taking away 4 spots on the main street. That's all I'm asking. It should be considered.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll add that to the list.
Moved by Councilor Johansson, second by Councilor Ingram, that council receives report 2615, Public Works Road Pedestrian Crossover Update as information, and that council directs staff to report back providing more information on the pedestrian crossover, and that council directs staff to separate the sidewalk tender from the pedestrian crossover project.
Okay, all those in favor? It's carried. Moving on, Curling Club.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. The next report on the agenda is the Curling Club roof project update. This one's fairly straightforward. ICI Roofing is currently on site. They're doing a fantastic job and they're making great progress there. One thing was identified to staff that had not previously been discussed, and that is a portion of the flat roof that overhangs that sort of rectangular space at their entrance. We're in there, the little table area there, sit down area. So that had not previously really been discussed. We had always, every time we were there, we looked at leaks at the over the ice area, and those were the ones that were mainly brought to our attention. This has been brought up. We have ICI there. We're trying to get them while they're still there to reduce some mobilization costs and whatnot. So the additional cost to get this portion of the roof done would be approximately $22,000. We are recommending funding that from the property reserve, which has a account balance of roughly $300,000. So just looking for council direction on that.
Questions? Councilor Ingram?
Through the chair, makes sense, Mike, for sure. It's just an oversight is all it was. Membrane roof. And the flat roof.
I'd have to talk to the engineer, or not the engineer, but the roof guy.
I know they did membrane on the.
Yeah, it likely a membrane, or it could be similar to this one.
Okay.
They did the tar on this wall. This one, they
Yeah.
did the flat roof tar here. So I would have to talk to him about his
That'd be
his technique, but yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions? Let's read the resolution.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Councilor McKelvey, that council receives report 2617 facilities as information, and that council directs staff to include the flat roof portion of the curling club for additional cost of $22,100 plus HST to be funded from the property reserve account.
Those in favor? That is carried. On to use bulldozer.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. Report 2619 for waste management bulldozer single source. So since budget approval, staff have been working diligently to source a used bulldozer. We have found a number of pieces of equipment that suit our needs very nicely. Decent piece of equipment, good hours, would be able to accomplish all our needs. Unfortunately, our process does not allow for quick enough movement on these pieces of equipment. This used equipment is still very competitive. Things get posted and they're gone within a week. So obviously with our process, our approval process, and it's obviously a different process than a new machine where you would put out specs, everybody would bid on it, it would have to go get manufactured, and you'd have your new machine exactly as you ordered. That's not the case in used. You're just dealing with what's out there. And we're finding the struggle is we're not able to move quick enough. So staff are requesting a single source option on this one, which would deviate from our procurement policy. Some of the benefits would be the ability to source equipment from all over Ontario and other provinces. There are some nice ones that have popped up just over the border in Quebec. Opportunity to have access to equipment that's before it's posted for sale. Once you start working with an agent, they'll, not unlike a real estate agent, you might get early dibs on items. Like I mentioned, the loss of equipment, we've had equipment in our sites that we haven't been able to move on. Tormont Cat specifically, I should mention, is who I'm recommending to single source through. We have a good working relationship with them. We've bought excavators and other equipment off them, and we have ongoing service contracts. So it makes sense to work with them. We know their salesman there well, and he's done well for us in the past. And just to clarify, it's not just Cat equipment. Tormont will, and they do deal with used equipment from all brands. So it's not like we'd be restricting really our options. It would just be giving a commitment because that's part of the issue too, is the salesman's going through, putting in a fair bit of effort, and we've yet to make him a commitment. The machines come up, we lose them, and then, he's sort of, put in the effort without seeing anything back. So he's looking for a commitment from us. So I would like to be able to provide a letter to the salesman at Tormont Cat, say, we are committed to purchase, and that we could bypass this approval system. Of course, with the approval of the CAO and the treasurer, and not exceeding the approved budget of.
Questions? Councillor Ingram?
To you. Is there any warranty at all on used equipment for this type of used equipment?
Through the chair, it really depends. Sometimes if Tormont Cat has done any type of a rebuild on a transmission or any aspect, they might give some warranty on it.
Okay.
But not always, and it wouldn't be the same as a new machine warranty, of
No,
course.
no. I
Um,
was wondering like 30 days. or
Yeah,
15 days, something.
there's usually something like that. The other thing is, Tormont does their own inspections, which is also
Okay.
nice. So it would come, it's not, it would
They would
come.
know.
Right, they would know. And again, I do have a good working relationship with the salesman there, and I think we're in good hands and we wouldn't be getting any.
The only other thing, Mike, I was wondering, maybe you can't answer this right now. Do we require another equipment operator at the landfill now, or will the current equipment operator operate both this
Through the chair, the intention is to have them both run by the same operating.
Any other questions? Resolution.
Moved by Counselor Ingram, second by Counselor Johansson, that council receives report 2619 Waste Management Bulldozer Single Sources Information. And that council directs staff to purchase the bulldozer from Tormont Cat as a single source procurement, and further that council authorizes the Director of Finance Treasurer to approve the purchase of the used bulldozer not to exceed the approved budget amount of 150,000 plus HST.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, sir. Chief. Tell us about mutual aid with the town of Bracebridge.
Good morning to you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of council. So this is our long-awaited automatic aid agreement with the town of Bracebridge to formalize our responses for fires, both wildfires and structure fires, and possibly MVCs if required along the 118 corridor. It's gone through review by legal as well as clerks departments. Happy to answer any other questions.
Questions? Michelle?
So does this give us then for all of our
Yes.
orders now, this gives us coverage for every other, if another municipality has to respond?
Through the chair, yes, it does.
Councilor McKelvey?
This is great. However, when I look at section, well, it talks about the Highway 118 corridor, but we've got taxpayers that are not on Highway 118 that actually access their property on the Bracebridge side. They come off 118 onto, I don't remember, I think it's Black Lake Road, but I'm not positive, or Black River. But I just want to make sure that they're going to get that protection. Also, if you look at section 3.1, it says Town of Bracebridge agrees to provide aid to the Township of Minden Hills when requested and able in Minden Hills near their municipal border along 118 for wildland fires and motor vehicle collisions. It does not talk about structure fires. In the next section, it talks about us helping them with structure fires. So I really want to make sure that they're going to provide first response for structure fires. They have a place, they have a fire hall at, just lost. Yes, that one. So they're definitely a lot closer to help people in a structure fire.
Through the chair, yes, it goes both ways. It's not just specific for each thing. It would be whenever we need them, and it is automatic aid. So each municipality would be dispatched immediately.
But the wording in the agreement, and I'm a little bit of a stickler for this, it's probably a pain in the butt. But it does not mention that Bracebridge is going to provide any service for structure fires. It's very specific that we will in 3.2, but in 3.1, it's absent, so they're not. So that's just my and I really question, I'm sorry, should we really have our resources in Bracebridge? Like, it makes sense to ask them to cover us. I don't even care if we have to pay something because Van Kunit Fire Hall's right there. But I'm not sure that I want our resources from Highway 35 Fire Hall in Bracebridge helping them with a fire. So maybe that makes me selfish, but I just don't get why we're doing this. I had thought we had this gentleman agreement sort of thing where they were going to help fight fires from their Van Kunit Fire Station to portions of our township that are near Bracebridge. I didn't know we were going to provide this to them. I just think this really needs to be looked at. I really question whether this has been lawyered. Doesn't look like an agreement that's been lawyered, so, to me.
Through the chair. So it's an automatic aid agreement to assist each other whenever we need it. And so we can amend the wording on that just to make sure that that is covered, but it is understood that we will help each other when required, and it would be dispatched automatically. As far as whether we're going into Bracebridge or they're coming into Minden Hills, it is always contingent on we're not needed in our own municipalities. And the wording is in the agreement that if Minden Hills has an emergency in Minden Hills that we're required to attend to, we would not be attending into Bracebridge and vice versa. So it's always contingent on if we are available to go help them and if they are available to come help us.
Councilor McKelvey.
I recognize what you're saying, if we're available. Do we really think it's a good idea that we send our resources to Bracebridge? I'm just asking that question. If we're available, I don't believe we should.
So through the chair, if we were to look at that for every one of our agreements, we have similar agreements with Dysart, with Algonquin Highlands,
We're a
with
lot
City
closer.
of Kawartha Lakes, but it's the exact same scenario.
We're a lot closer to Thompson. I don't know. We used to have an agreement with Dysart. They went first response to an area of our township, and it's $500. I don't believe we ever agreed to cover part of their township.
We have automatic aids with them and we would
Yeah.
cover them when we are asked.
Through the county mutual aid.
Agreed.
Mutual aid.
No, it's an automatic aid.
And I think also there's this situation, there could be a particularly whether it starts as a structure fire or it starts as a wildfire, it's burning towards us with the wind. There's certainly a reason why we would want to be there to help control their fire before it becomes a bigger issue for us. It seems to me that a mutual agreement is, works both ways. I realize that they're bigger and they're closer, but it depends on exactly where it happens on the highway or whatever. If we have availability, I think we would offer that availability.
I can't imagine Bracebridge ever asking us to leave Minden and fight a fire in Bracebridge. They got Gravenhurst, they got Huntsville, they've got all those little towns around there. So it's a backup for the areas that we don't close. So maybe you call it from Van Kunit east. They respond to the Black River. You could put that in there if you wanted to, if you didn't want to commit to doing a fire at the hall or at the town itself, because I think they probably got their rears covered there pretty good.
Through the chair, this agreement benefits us much more than it would benefit the town of Bracebridge.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would agree with the comments just made, and we can definitely put structure fires in section 3.1 that Councillor McKelvey has identified. So we can make that amendment if council is amenable to endorsing the agreement as amended.
Questions? Resolution.
Moved by Counselor McKelvey, seconded by Counselor Sisset, that council receives report 26006 fire automatic gate agreement with the town of Bracebridge as information. And that bylaw 2655 to authorize the execution of the agreement as amended be referred to the bylaw section of the agenda for approval and implementation. And further that staff forward the agreement to the corresponding municipality for signatures.
All those in favor? That is carried. All right, it's 10:20. I've been requested that Councillor Ingram needs at least 8 minutes. So we will take a break until 10:35. All right, we're back. Moving on to finance, Mr. Drinkwalter, please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor, and through the chair, our first report is on the annual financial report for building fees. So this is a report that's required, well, the report's not required, but there's a report required that the municipality prepare for the public or have available for the public regarding building fees and costs for running the building service and building department. So when we get down into the analysis, that the first part, the background, is just the details in the legislation and some of the definitions under the Building Act. The analysis part talks about our reserve fund balance. Now, I'm not proposing any transfers to and from reserves at this point. This is just we use the reserves in the building department as a surplus account to track our yearly year-over-year costs, surplus and deficit. And that's because we are required to keep those fees separate so we can report on them, and we can show whether our building fees are funding our costs or we're running a deficit in the building department. So, and if we go down, we can see the 2025 revenue and expenses. So we have total revenue, direct costs, which are things like wages and benefits, and direct costs to provide the the building department to do their services. And the indirect costs are costs related to typically allocated costs such as heat, hydro, and things like that. So you can see we're in a deficit for the year of 2025 of about 248,000. And I did look at the report from last year and kind of reran the numbers, and we were also in a deficit last year. And that's why, as part of this report, I've attached some proposed increases to the building fees. The increases are to ensure that the fees we get for building permits and other permits through that department cover the cost of running the building department. If we don't increase those fees, then that cost, that's those expenses that are not covered by the building department, aren't covered by the tax rate. So either way, the public's paying for it. It's just which part of the public is paying for it. Is it the people that are applying for the building permits, or is it the general taxpayers that are covering those costs? So this report is to receive as information. The actual fees and charges bylaw will come next meeting, which will have the actual approval, but I wanted to bring these ahead of time because it is a big change to the building fees. So I wanted a chance for council to review, ask questions, any concerns, so on and so forth. And another thing I just want to point out is the kind of when I ran the numbers for the last few years, it appears that we need an increase of about 78% of our fees to cover these costs. I'm bringing forward a 50% increase, and that's because with only the 2 years I put together, we can see a lot of fluctuation in how many permits we're actually issuing. And I believe we're in a bit of a downward trend right now. But if it picks up, I'm hoping those fees cover the cost at the 50% increase.
Questions? Michelle?
It's not a question, it's just a comment, because I don't really know what the answer is, but we will put ourselves out of the building business if we put this onto the contractors. But I don't know what the answer is. It's just a comment. I don't expect you to know either, but it's exorbitant.
Councilor McKelvey?
So some of these costs are for bylaw enforcement. Correct?
No, we've pulled out all the bylaw costs.
So when like you sent some subsequent information to members of council. And it talked about the 2026. $377,447. So I went back to the.
And that those ones do include bylaw. You're correct.
Okay.
The levy
because-
requirements you're talking about.
So you're saying of this 377. On here, there's that much of it is actually building as opposed to bylaw, because bylaws never, like, that's expensive. There's no revenue for it. I'm just not sure that I can.
These are actual costs.
Okay.
Because compared to the levy would be from the budget, and that's budgeted costs.
So, again, without the details, what would, like, is all the staff in here, or how many people are pulled out because they are just bylaw? That sort of thing. I think there's a lot more costs that should be attributed to the bylaw portion of as opposed to building. I feel very strongly that I would never support a fee increase like this. At present situation that we have with people having such a hard time to get past planning to get a building permit. I think in time, once we get that sorted out, we will actually issue our building permits, and that'll help. That's got to be a priority.
Councillor Sisson.
I don't know if you've looked at anything else to try and reduce the cost, but obviously our permits are down, so maybe we should look at some staff reduction to try and curb some of the spending. Obviously, if we raise the price this much, there won't be any building permits going out, so I can't justify raising it that much. We need to cut it somewhere else.
And I just want to point out, and I know you guys are aware, but if the building fees aren't covering the costs, that the taxes are. So either way, we're paying for it. It's just where the money's being coming from.
What I'm saying is if we're not selling any building permits, we don't need 5 staff upstairs. That's what I'm saying.
Councillor McKelvey.
I really feel I need a better breakdown on building department, bylaw department, and septic, because it's like 3 separate. I'll be
What
on
was your third one?
septic.
Septic.
So, I really kind of need that breakdown to actually analyze, but again, I'm not going to support those kind of increases in the building fees. And I'm well aware that if we don't increase the building fees, that the taxpayer is going to help subsidize the building department if we don't lower costs. So I just think I need a little more detail, because the total building bylaws septic levy was like not quite $400,000. So I need some detail on these. And I'm not saying I don't trust your numbers. I'm just saying I need info. So, I mean, this is what we're gonna have for the next public meeting for our fee increases. We've always tried to stay with other townships in the county. They're not losing this kind of money, so.
Councillor Ingram. Mayor, I couldn't agree more, Councillor McKelvey. The biggest problem we're having is getting them through planning. It's got to stop. People are not even getting permits now. They're just building and hoping they don't get caught. And we don't get the revenue on that. We're losing big time because of that. We need to do something.
Comments or?
Mr. Mayor, we've just delivered to council a comprehensive review of our building and bylaw departments, and we are working diligently to implement those recommendations. As was presented, it's not a magic wand. I think council's comments today related to perhaps needing more information and understanding we will take those away, and those are appreciated. I don't know that I have any more comments to make right now.
What, so the changes in the fees and so on, those, I mean, there's not any time frame that has to be done. It's really the public meetings, good, right.
So through the chair, that's correct. It is public meeting process, as well as we have to give the public 21 days notice with respect to any fee changes under the Ontario Building Code.
Right. But, I mean, we happen to be doing it at this time because we set this date. We didn't, it's not that there's something that needs to be done by a certain date, correct?
Go ahead.
Through the chair, actually it is. We have to, do you mean it has to be completed by a certain date?
Right.
No, we just have to give notice within 21 days of whatever change we make.
Right.
Does
Of
that
every-
clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was our determination as to when, yes. Councilman Cullen.
So my understanding of this is that during budget, we didn't talk about changing fees. It's been, it was a few months before that, before Zach even came, we said we wanted to talk about this, and all of a sudden, we needed to include the fee for the septic reinspection program in our fees and charges because it was missed. That's my understanding. So I think that the public meeting was intended to be for the fees and charges for the septic reinspection to be updated. All of a sudden, the public meeting is advertised and we as members of council look at it and realize all of our building fees are proposed to go up 50%. I, for one, am very upset that I had to read this on the thing, and I get it, it's a proposal, and I understand you needed to get that information to us today to do the public meeting, but we need to be involved in some of these discussions. In the past, we've always talked about what we want to do for fees and charges, and then down the road, the public meetings held. I'm not prepared to do anything other than the septic reinspection fee when it comes to the next meeting where we have a public meeting for it. I expect you're going to have the home builders here. They're very upset. There's a lot of people upset about this, and my calls are coming like, what the hell are you doing, people? Pardon my language. And I'm going, I don't know, because we weren't informed. I read the same public notice you did. I'm very angry. I'm sorry, Zach. Maybe this is different where you've come from, but in this township, council's supposed to know what the heck's going on here before we just post a public meeting and say, sorry, fees are going up 50%. So I will say the same thing at the public meeting when we have it at the next meeting. I want a breakdown of the septic reinspection costs of operating that program based on how many inspections we think we need. And then I will base my decision at that meeting on what the fee for the septic reinspection program should be. We've just pulled a number. Well, we did. Same as what it was before when WSP did it. Doesn't mean it should be the same now. So there's my spiel on our public notice of fee changes.
Michelle?
I would agree. I can't. The same thing. I've had people going, where, this is crazy. And I didn't know about it either, obviously, being a member of council, but I don't even think this should be included in the public meeting at the end of the month. I mean, we've already advertised that it's going to be before council even approved that we wanted. Oh, man.
The approval comes at when the bylaw comes. The approval is not.
With all due respect, Zach, this would appear that council had, to the public, this would appear that council has seen these numbers, that we are standing behind the numbers, and now we're bringing them to public the same way we do with the budget.
That's what this report is, though, to bring the numbers to council.
But it's already, a public meeting's already been
To
scheduled
meet
with
the
this
20
being.
to meet the 21 days.
Yeah.
So I think we're hearing loud and clear that we need to review timing of this kind of information coming to council, fulsome discussion before we post a public meeting. I've got that noted.
Councilman, sorry. Did you want to say something?
Sorry. So here's my question to council. Is it, we do need to put forward the reinspection fees for septic. Um, is it council's request that we pull and cancel the public meeting? Is that, and, or what? Just to be, just to be clear, because I mean, we've canceled public meetings before, it can be done. The only concern right now is the septic if I'm not talking offside here, is the septic reinspection fees, which are urgent because, you know, we want to keep that program going. So just a clarification on that, because it can be done.
Councilor McKelvey.
We need to set the septic reinspection fees. We've already gone out telling people what these fees are. I think we've even charged people.
No.
We haven't? Okay, good to know. We need to get that in our fees and charges bylaw. I am saying I personally won't just throw $220 on that fees and charges bylaw schedule for septic reinspection without some costs of operating the septic reinspection program that we brought in-house instead of having WSP do it anymore. I want that information at the public meeting that's already advertised. At that public meeting, because it's already advertised and you're proposing all these other fee increases, I personally won't support that. And I do know you're going to get, at least I expect you're going to get some delegations at the public meeting, and that's good. We need to hear it from them. So, but at that public meeting, we need to get the septic reinspection done if we know what we're talking about for costs of operating that program. So I would suggest we keep going with it, but we're going to be slaughtered on the building department fees. I, for one, will not be supporting that 50% increase.
Well, I think that it's pretty clear that we're not ready for the fees and charges on all of the building permits. We need to do some more and understand it a bit more. I agree that the fees and charges that we're putting out to a public meeting should be something that we agree to.
Or at least have knowledge of.
The situation we have is that, you know, from time to time, there are going to be things where we decide that we're going to pay for it from taxes as opposed to paying for it in fees. So I think that we need to have an agreement on that. We're not there yet. Obviously, the septic one though needs to continue because we need to get those approved now. But the other ones I think should be deferred until we're ready as a council to recommend them along with staff.
So through the chair, I think, just to assist the public, as well, I don't think it would hurt to do another blast out for public meeting and just acknowledge that we will not be discussing the building fees. However, we will be focusing on the reinspection program. I think we need to make that clarification to the public.
Seem reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Something. The direction changing. I think.
Sorry, if council wishes, we can add that direction. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor McKelvey and Councillor Sisson. So just to clarify then, I'll just make an amendment to the resolution that council directs the public meeting and fees for building be removed. Sorry, let me reword that. That the building fees be removed from the public meeting process and continue and proceed with the septic reinspection program. Are you comfortable with that?
As long as there's a report to give the justification for 220, so I don't know if we need to put that part in it or not. Or staff just heard that.
We will bring
That
more
would-
information back.
Yeah. I mean, I can put that in. So moved by Counselor McNally, second by Counselor Sisson, that council receives report 2606 finance annual financial report for the fiscal year of 2025's information. And that council directs the building fees be removed from the public process. And proceed with the septic reinspection program.
Those in favor? That's good. Thank you. Moving on to Mountain Lake.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. This is, a report we brought previously, to council, who approved for us to go ahead with our expression of interest in a property. And through that, we've received an agreement of purchase and sale for the purchase price of $630,000 for the Mountain Lake property, the old M&R fire base, I believe it was previously referred to. In part of my work, I looked at how we would fund this this property. We didn't really have a reserve to pull from, and it's not something, we've pulled quite a bit of money from reserves this year, and I wanted to hold off on that. But we do have a parkland reserve fund and a shoreline road allowance reserve fund that we collect when we for specific projects and for shoreline purchases. So the balance in those funds currently, the shoreline road allowance has 659,000, and the parkland reserves has 58,000. So what I'm proposing is to pull 50,000 from parkland reserve and 580,000 from the shoreline reserve, shoreline road allowance to cover the purchase price of the 630,000. There will also be some legal fees associated with that, but because they won't be substantial. I was going to put those through our operating, but still capitalize as part of the cost of the purchase.
Okay, so in the last meeting, we gave direction that we were interested in this and we could go further. Were there any other points on the negotiation in terms of, the environmental or waive payment or anything like that?
Yeah, so I did approach about doing some type of payment plan. And they did take a few days to get back to me. They said they would get back to me, but they did not have any program where we could do a payment plan or anything like that. So the payment schedule is listed there. And it's 5% on submission of the purchase offer, 5% 48 hours after acceptance, and then the remaining balance upon the closing date. I did discuss, because I know one of the concerns was the environmental, as well as, I don't know if it was brought up, the archaeological, but there was an archaeological assessment done as well as an environmental assessment. So there was a phase 1 environmental and a phase 1 and 2 archaeological. And both reports were clean. There was no further recommendations on those reports. So they had provided them to me. I wasn't able to provide them because of our confidentiality agreement at this time. But they were provided to staff to review.
Were there any other issues in the negotiations or like price, so there's no wiggle room?
That they said we could, offer what we want for the property. But they don't have to accept anything lower than what their appraisal value was. And this was the low end of their appraisal value. It was the lowest appraisal they got.
You may not know this. If we ever decide down the road to do something like that, so other than what it is now. Are those inspections qualified to do that work? Do you follow what I mean? Like they inspect the archaeological one and the environmental. We want to put, let's call it. We want to put that there. Do we have to do an environmental assessment in order to do that, or will that one suffice? That's what I'm getting at. So if we ever decide to work on the land, do we have to do these again?
I don't believe the archaeological, no, the environmental would likely have to, yeah, exactly. Depends on what you do.
Thank you.
But that would be a planning question for sure.
But just to be clear, we would own this land if we buy it into your recommendation. We own it free and clear, the township.
Correct.
Michelle?
Just a comment. Obviously, we have to do this. And on behalf of the people of Bob Lake, I wish we had had an opportunity like this when that piece of property was being sold that had the township known. So we don't want to have people of Mountain Lake be in the same situation. So I'm glad that we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Kelby?
So I'm really glad we're going to do this. It protects another access point to a lake. We personally used it as a former boater. My only concern, and I just want clarification because I think there are, we're gonna have our own legal fees, obviously, I get that, and you're gonna take it out of operating, but when you look at the offer, I'm wondering about HST, would we get it all back,
Yes, we can claim HST
the
back,
whole thing?
the whole thing,
Okay.
yes.
Land transfer tax, I don't know what that would cost.
I can't recall off the top of my head what. It's it goes up based on the purchase price.
Yes, so I don't know
percentage-wise,
what that cost is gonna
Yeah.
be. Also, I believe there is a survey cost of 15,000 and change. And an appraisal cost of 9,000 and change in section 1601 that we have to pay. And that's on top. So I just wanted to find out, are we gonna be able to cover that? $25,000 roughly out of the operating? It's not included in the purchase price. It's on top of the way I read this. So we're gonna have land transfer, we're gonna have this appraisal, we're gonna have the survey.
Okay,
We got
and,
over $30,000 there.
and that's maybe I'll have to check on the survey and the sorry, what was the other cost? The survey and the
Appraisal.
appraisal,
So-
because through our conversations, it was to be covered by the vendor. So,
So when you look at section 16.01, it's on top of, so that's where I read it. It may very well be what they told you, but and when you read this, it's gonna be something we're gonna have to do on top. So we either want this changed. So it says we're going to reimburse the vendor for any and all the following fees and costs, including applicable taxes, and it lists the 15,524.91. The survey plan, reference plan. And then later on, the next one, it talks about $9,081 plus HST for the appraisal costs. So
yeah, and I apologize. I believe that's why it was highlighted, for them to, because we discussed removing those. And I believe that's why she highlighted when she sent this over.
So we either need to figure out where that cost is coming from. We need to try to sign this back to get them to include that in the purchase price.
Yeah, we can pull these out of the agreement and sign the agreement to send back.
And then as far as your financing plan and back to what Deputy Mayor Shell said, I too wish the previous council had looked at the Bob Lake thing better. I wasn't here. Whether it was for sale or not, that it was different. It was private land and not the province. And the province is broke, so they're trying to get market value for it. It would have been nice in the good old days. They used to transfer stuff to for a bar. We need to protect this access to Mountain Lake. I do agree with the proposed funding that you've got in here. I do know that the policy that we have for shoreline road allowance money, we would be waiving, and I'm totally supportive of that.
Just want to jump in. I actually misinterpreted that. It only applies to naturalization of property. So the purchase of property does not have the 15% cap. I misinterpreted that when I read that policy originally.
Okay.
So we're gonna pull that out of the motion, I believe, yeah.
Oh, okay, because I still read that we did need to waive that policy.
That's how I read it as well, but
I know that, she may not be here today, but Counselor Saini is very, passionate about not using that money, but just some background, when shoreline road allowance closures were done years ago, it was legislated, the money had to go into a Parks and Reserve fund, you could only use it for capital. And then the legislation changed and townships were starting to use it for roads and all kinds of great different things that they thought was a good idea. This township did this policy, not really. It should have been updated for many years ago, so I don't think it's a problem if we are waiving.
Okay. I think that we sign it back at the make sure that those survey fees and so on are not included. But this is not only Mountain Lake, because it connects to Horseshoe, would be Horseshoe here in this case, right? So it's the last piece of property on these lakes. And unfortunately, the government doesn't come along and decide to sell it to you, and you can say, oh, can we wait till the next budget cycle? They basically say, hey, we're selling it now. If you don't want it, we're going to a cottager or somebody to build a restaurant. But you know, I think we have no choice, and we have that reserve for things such as this. So I think we need to go ahead with the resolution.
Through the chair, and just for clarification, Councillor McKelvey, did you say that was section 16 of the agreement? Zero. So Councillor Ingram and Councillor Johansson, so I just made an amendment to the motion to include, for one, we removed that waiving that 15% for reserves. And then we've included that council direct staff to remove the appraisal and survey costs acknowledged in section 16.1 A and B of the agreement. Are you comfortable with that? Okay. So moved by Councillor Ingram, seconded by Councillor Jansen, that council receives report 2608 finance purchase of provincial surplus land for information, and that council directs staff to remove the appraisal and survey costs acknowledged in section 16.1 A and B of the agreement, and that council directs staff to utilize 50,000 from parkland reserves and 580,000 from shoreline road allowance reserves to fund the $630,000 purchase price of the property. And that council authorizes staff to execute the agreement of purchase and sale provided by the province, and refers bylaw 2656 to the bylaw section of the agenda for approval.
All those in favor? That is carried. Bells are ringing on Mountain Lake as remember, you didn't have a declaration of community. Okay. All right. Thank you, Zach. You're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report was brought forward yearly relating to the Halliburton Highlands Water Trails Program, which is within the geographical area of Minden along Highway 118 west of Carnarvon. The program is administered and operated by the Township of Algonquin Highlands on behalf of Minden Hills, and it's through a shared services agreement, and this has been established since pretty much 2007. The Halliburton Highlands Water Trails management model is supported by the Ministry of Natural Resources through the land use permit with each partnered municipality. And changes to the bylaw are noted in yellow, and they just reflect the 1.9% increase, which aligns with inflation. And Algonquin Highlands has already passed their bylaw. Bylaw 1502, in addition to the rates provided and the set fine schedule, it does have a provincial offenses portion to it, but that just helps staff regulate the operations of the municipal campgrounds, and it also permits the enforcement of it. So that's why we always amend that bylaw. So that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Councillor Sisson?
So there's no increase I see on this, is that right? Or is it?
It's just a standard increase that Algonquin Highlands proposes yearly, and it's usually aligns with inflation.
just
So it's
agreeing.
nothing astronomical that is
thank you.
outside of the regular process.
Any other questions? Resolution.
Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shell, that report 2624 administration, Halliburton Highlands Water Trails proposed fees and rates be received as information. And further, that council adopts bylaw 2654, being a bylaw to amend Schedule B of bylaw 1502 to establish and regulate camping permit.
All those in favor? That is carried. Well, the bylaws.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Shell, seconded by Councillor McKelvey. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be received, read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed. Bylaw 2654, the Halliburton Highlands Water Trail Program bylaw. Bylaw 2655, the automatic aid agreement with Bracebridge as amended. And bylaw 2656, purchase and sale agreement as amended.
All those in favor? That's carried.
Moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Councillor Sisson, that bylaw 2657, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council during its meeting of June 11th, 2026, be received, read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All those in favor? It's carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Councillor Sisson, seconded by Councillor McKelvey, be it resolved that the June 11th, 2026 regular council meeting is hereby adjourned at 11:13 a.m.
All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everyone. Our next scheduled meeting is for June 18th at 1 p.m. It's a special meeting for a facilitated session by the Eastern Ontario Regional Network to gather council's input for the community-wide affordability and governance structure study. And June 25th, 2026 is our next regular council meeting. Stay safe, enjoy the sun.